What is going on, my Houston Texans family? We are traveling to Soldier Field on Sunday and going against the Chicago Bears. Head coach Lovie Smith is going back to his old stomping grounds. Let's not forget, he took the Chicago Bears to the Super Bowl where they lost to the Indianapolis Colts. But this is an important game for the Houston Texans because there are implications if they win. There are implications if they lose. With that being said, before we get started with the video, we are almost to 5,000 subscribers, boys. Once we get there, I will be giving away this signed Houston Texans helmet. So down below, drop me your keys to the game because this definitely is a game where I see the Houston Texans winning, right? I think we have the edge on the defensive side, and if Davis Mills just shows up, then we have the edge on the offensive side as well. But some of the implications that I was talking about, if we win, we are tied for first place in the AFC South. And yes, it's way too early to be talking about standings, to be talking about the playoffs. But the Houston Texans were at no point ever being looked at as a team to be contending for the #1 spot. And yes, maybe the Titans and the Colts, they find their way down the road. But they're going to have to play catch up because the Houston Texans will be there at the #1 spot. Because I think they will beat the Chicago Bears. But not only that, one of the implications could go either way if Davis Mills wins this game and plays good, or if we lose. It just is not a good situation for Davis Mills, right? Because if he wins, you buy yourself another week. This is a game where everyone expects you to play well in. The funny thing is, Davis Mills has not played well on the road at all. So this is a huge test for him. If the Houston Texans lose, we are 0-2-1. There is no way you get into the playoffs. There is no way, the life can be sucked out of this team if they fall to 0-2-1. That's the reality if we go out there and absolutely shit the bed and lose to the Chicago Bears. But if the Houston Texans win, you have some life, right? Because you're thinking, I just came off of 2 games against 2 good teams where I should have won. And now I solidify that by beating a lesser opponent than being the Chicago Bears. And now let's go on and face the Los Angeles Chargers. And if we lose that game, we talked about it with Landry Locker yesterday, the Houston Texans could still be in first place because every other team, the Titans, the Jaguars, the Colts, they are playing teams who are playing damn good football right now. This is how crazy this Week 3 matchup is for the Houston Texans. And I haven't even started in talking about the factors for this game. But one of them is Davis Mills for me. He looks good until the fourth quarter came. Last week against the Broncos, just did not look comfortable, did not look good at all. The Chicago Bears, they have pass rushers that can get to the QB. Travis Gibson last week had 2 sacks. They also have Robert Quinn, who last season absolutely erupted for 15, 16, 17 sacks. So they have people who could get to the QB. They also have stud linebacker Roquan Smith, who I hope the Houston Texans trade for. And then veteran Eddie Jackson back there, I think one of the best safeties in the game. But still, this is where I see the Houston Texans targeted because this defense has allowed a lot of yards to these wide receivers. One of the main guys is Kyler Gordon, rookie for the Chicago Bears. This is a situation where I want to see Davis Mills and Brandon Cooks attack him. He was abused last week by the Packers. In the past 2 games, he's led out 156 receiving yards and a touchdown. So if Pep Hamilton is smart, this is another big game for Pep Hamilton. You go after what they're weak at. You attack the secondary. This offensive line is going to have a huge task. I talked about those 2 very good edge rushers, but they cannot fall apart in the fourth quarter like what they've been doing, right? The communication needs to be there. We need to see Titus Howard play through the whistle because his 2 sacks that come are because he gives up. So this offensive line is the foundation for this Sunday's game because not only that, but they are going to be blocking for for number 31 Damian Pierce, who had a very solid game last week, and I think this is a potential breakout game in Soldier Field for number 31 Damian Pierce. The Chicago Bears defense allowed Aaron Jones to go out for 120 yards, and I think this Texans rushing attack with Pierce has a little bit more a little bit more vicious, more violent, and once he gets the ball, Damian Pierce is just shot out of a cannon. So this is a potentially big game for the rookie. This is a big game for Davis Mills. Switching to the defensive side, right? It looks like the Chicago Bears coaching staff have no faith in Justin Fields. Only allowed this dude to throw the ball 11 times, and none of their weapons, right? Old Texan Ryan Griffin, St. Brown, Darnell Mooney. I'm talking about the wide receivers here because they have a very respectable run game. But none of these wide receivers or tight ends have been the answer for Justin Fields or this Bears offense. And Justin Fields himself hasn't looked good whatsoever. Maybe is the worst quarterback out of last year's draft class, and it's not looking good for him. They are going to heavily rely on the run game. David Montgomery last week, 122 yards. They also have Herbert, who was averaging 9.5 yards a carry last week. And then Justin Field, he adds in that, he's able to run. He's able to extend plays. So just like last week, this is going to be a very interesting game for this Houston Texans defensive line. We were able to sack Russell Wilson 3 times last week. Grenard was in there. Rasheem Green was in there. I wonder who else is going to be thrown into the mix, right? Are we going to see Jerry Hughes, get to the QB? Do we see Mario Addison, or will we continue to see Green and Grenard get to the QB? Because this is the tandem that I talked about in the offseason. I have no issues for this secondary. They definitely have the edge. Derek Stingley, I've been encouraged by the way his play has been this past 2 games, going against very tough talent. And yes, he is getting beat, but he's not letting it affect him. He's having that short play mentality and moving on. And Steven Nelson might just be your best corner, maybe one of your best free agent corner signings you had in a very long time. And the safeties, I cannot be more proud of Jonathan Owens and Jalen Petrie. This is a game where I think the Houston Texans can definitely win. I need them. We need them to go 1-1-1. Let me know your keys to this game, guys. As always, go Texans. Y'all have a very blessed day.